What we would like to tell you, just to welcome you and to set a frame, is once again a simple thing. What is our plan and initiatives in the context of AI? What is our concept, how we would handle the topic AI within our product, and also how could our product BIS be used to help AI initiatives to become successful. And we decided to make it easy in a two-lane model, two-lane to the same objectives. The left lane is talking about how we incorporate AI assistance in our products to make your life easier, working, designing, monitoring, integrations with our BIS platform. And so we have a couple of flags, and as some of you know, we have already incorporated an AI assistant in our mapping designer. We use this also for legacy data and message mapping migration. So it is pretty simple to take legacy mappings, XSLT mappings, for example, put them in and create mapping code for BIS mapper out of it. We are next to present you a conversational assistant, which helps that you can talk with SEEBURGER documents and own documents to get specific knowledge in a specific situation that you might need to fix an issue. And today we are talking about the last flag, the mapping design, using a conversational assistant to create a mapping code for data transformation out of human readable documents. That's the topic of today. On the right-hand side, we talk about things which is not in scope of today, how our BIS platform could help that you in your organization could contribute to AI initiatives. And a very simple thing is, of course, as every AI provides APIs, you could integrate and manage them with our product, with the BIS platform. And secondly, I think Gartner pointed out last year, it is an easy catch. There is no success with AI without proper and centralized data. If data is not properly provided and delivered to an AI model, disregarding what it is, an AI model that you run at home, an AI model which is supporting an application which is AI powered, they all require access to data. They all require clean and accurate data. Sometimes in batch, sometimes in real time, but access to data is a fundament that you run AI initiatives successful. Surprisingly enough, this is exactly what our BIS platform is designed for. But today we are focusing on the left lane, and just a recap, where are we today? As some of you know, having visited our sessions before, we are extremely much focused with an UX-driven initiative to understand how our users work to do their day-to-day tasks. And what you here see is maybe a little bit idealistic, but this is somehow major blocks of tasks that a user has to do to build an integration. And what we do is we focus on AI assistance in these areas where we see the highest value. And it's also a good thing to ask the internet, to ask AI itself. I'm a big fan of Google Deep Search, meanwhile, deep research, and it is stated in all sources that the topic of data mapping and transformation is the most time-consuming, most complex, challenging task for a user to get an integration flow done. And for somebody who works in this area, there's no further explanation required. There's new data formats coming in, there's errors in data mappings, there is understanding of the syntax and the semantics. It is such a huge and widespread area of knowledge that you have that this requires all your time to focus on it, because without proper data, your systems are not served with the information they require. And if you step back and we switch to the next slide, there's also what is in general tasks from a bird's eye view that are so complex in the area of integration, and that could be supported with generative AI. The result is the same. It is data mapping and transformation. The complexity is listed here in the text. It is also error handling and reconciliation. As we know, and it's also stated here, the data exchange in the context of data, missing data, formatting is wrong, and also, of course, communication is a huge issue that keep our lives day-to-day busy. And here we could contribute with generative AI, ensuring data quality and consistency. Huge issue if data is not accurate and not on the highest level. Makes no sense to integrate systems with it. The bad thing about our business is it works 100% or it's failing. It is not something like, oh, the data is 98% accurate, so good enough. No, maybe our systems refuse or reject this data, and so all the integration is for nothing. And what we also know, you maybe have heard it by my voice, I'm a very old man. So what I have learned in this couple of years I have been in this area, there's all the time something new going on. There was XML coming out, there was JSON coming out, there was Afro coming out, there was whatever coming out. I was one of the first of our consultants who had the pleasure to travel to the UK, and I run into TraderCons. Then I worked in the USA, and I have seen ANSI X12. I had been in Japan, and I learned about Japanese data formats and technologies. There's all the time something new. There's never something that stops. So for us to be up to date, to handle all these new requirements, we know somehow what is the idea behind it, what is the idea behind the data format, it's clear to us. But how to adopt a new data format I've never touched before in an easy way. How could I do that not starting from the scratch again? And this is also areas where Gen AI is a huge contributor to the success of our users. And for that reason, we will see that on the next slide. We have incorporated AI already exactly in the heart of this complexity in our BIS mapping designer, who is built to make this complexity easier to handle. It's a beautiful tool. It has a huge impact. We have redesigned the complete tool for data transformation, for method transformation, and the best people of our organization are working in this because we know this is where it hurts most. If you are successful there, you're successful with all your integrations. And when we incorporated AI into this, we had guardrails. And this is given on the left-hand side in these bullet points. This is our foundation. If we implement AI, we are not doing this just for the sake of having fancy technology. We check and prove any kind of integration, help, and assistance of AI by these criteria. If it's too much costs, forget about it. If it is not providing good results and results that our BIS platform could execute ongoing in a fast and reliable way, not good. Example, if the code generated by AI that we use in the mapping designer is not good, it would be a disadvantage because the runtime goes down, the performance goes down. We will not accept it. Thankfully, that we use AI only by design time, and our runtime engine is still our own technology, our engines, our powerful machines, then we could also assure that we have reliable and consistent results. This is not given if you hand the job over to AI, because you are never sure. If you ask the same question twice, it will be a different answer, slightly different, but it will be different. Not acceptable in our business. And of course, with AI, things like AI usage policies come into place. When we started with incorporating AI, of course, we have received immediately notice from our huge customers and saying, how do you handle privacy? How do you handle data privacy, data protection? How is this done? And of course, as we know that this is incorporated by design. And the last thing, the human stays in the loop. AI is a brilliant technology, but it is a powerful tool in the hand of an expert. And it's all the time the human that makes the last decision. And we will continue to do that. And today we show you something where we have made the next step, because this is where we thought, where do we want to be tomorrow to help our users to handle this challenging task to do data transformations? So although I'm very old, I sat down in November and I thought by myself, now it is good if we have code and we can work with code in a mapping. Although we have low code to no code tools and we can do with drag and drop some mappings, let's be honest, it is good to have this easy to use declarative approach of BIS Mapper to get the job done, because we need to have it done in a precise way to provide to our business the best possible data. Fine. But what if we would use two documents, human readable documents? We have decided in this case, EDI B2B implementation guides. We know these documents. They are huge. They are talking a lot about this is here, this is, they are available for ANSI, they are available for EDIFACT, they are available for trader comms. They also have brothers and sisters in API descriptions. They have brothers and sisters in internal implementation guides. It's all human readable stuff that is informing a person about how a specific interface looks like and what is the specifics about it. So I thought by myself, wouldn't it be a cool idea to use these human readable documents and ask AI if AI could create a mapping out of this? And the idea was, because me as a user, I have to do the same. I have to open these documents. I have to walk through them. I have to become familiar with what is the specifics behind. I am doing the same, and it's a repetitive job, a job, to be honest, which is not the most funniest, because reading PDF documents is something nobody likes. So what if I could have a buddy, let's call him Paul, that helps me to get the job done? And having said that, I welcome Daniel, colleague from the mapping management, one of our AI evangelists, and he will show you what we have achieved so far.
Thank you, Thomas. I will switch from the PowerPoint to the video mode, and I will show you a demo of our prototype and of our vision. The 12-second mapping story. It goes like this. You do start your workday, and then you thought, I wish I would have a nice day, but unfortunately my boss sent me some work. In this case, the boss sends this Mighty Mouse implementation guideline describing the internal SAP IDOC format, plus a message implementation guideline any partner usually has. In this case, it's EDIFACT, but it could be X12, trader comms, or any other format really. And also, you can see the manager really don't give any useful information. He just says, basically write a mapping. Good luck. At least he's polite. And then what happens is you typically would need to screen the documents and analyze them. We are briefly doing that just to see what kind of documents are we looking at. Aha, it's the typical message implementation guideline EDIFACT format. We do have some disclaimer which nobody really reads, and then we come to the actual segments. We now have a segment described. In this case, it's the UNB, and NZX12, it would be the ISA segment, for example. And you will see, okay, in this particular trading partner relationship, you have to fill this and that fields, and there are some unique things you have to consider. So it's basically a standard message implementation guideline. On the other hand, we have an implementation guideline, and what that really is, it's describing the internal system. So this is a brief documentation of how the internal SAP is provided with information. For example, there is a system client 555, and there are some unique numbers which are fixed values. We are demonstrating this to show what we have here is the description of both systems. On the one hand, the target system, the SAP. On the other hand, the source system, which is an EDI channel. Now both documents were uploaded into a rack, and the rack is accessing those documents and enhancing the AI model to not only know what the AI model knows, but now we also know the two documents. Plus, this rack also knows about this mapping designer guideline. So we have now an AI buffer which understands how does our technology work. Plus, we understand the message implementation guide and the SAP requirement. Now we can test if this is true by using our prototype, and this is not the final looking of it. This is just to demonstrate the functionality. We will say, hey, there's an EDI implementation guideline of company Lidl. What are the different order types in the guideline? And we now ask the system, and we get a result. In this case, it will tell us, oh, there are actually 3 different order types. We have free carrier orders, direct logistics orders, and cross-docking orders. And you have references to sources, which is useful because if you want to challenge the AI, you can ask, how do you retrieve to that conclusion? So you can always ask, quote your source. And not only it's understanding that we have 3 different order types, it also shows you, for this order type, you have to use code 220, and cross-docking orders is 410, for example. Imagine if you don't do that with an AI, you would have to read the documents to screen for such kind of information. And I think this again. We are also retrieving some extra information, such as how is the rough message structure of the format and so on. What are typical parts of the payload? Good. We will memorize not every detail here, but we will memorize we have the cross-docking orders. That's a little bit important for the rest of the demo. What we are now asking in a follow-up question, what are the main differences between those order types? Give an example. And now we see already, okay, it's now tableizing those order types, and we now have a brief description, and we have the EDI codes, and we see, that's the main difference. This is the key feature, and that's what the process really is about. What we now can do is we can say, hey, let's retrieve a table showing all the differences between the 3 order types. What we are now seeing is not every single ADI segment in total. For example, the U and B is missing. We only do see the ones which are different. So imagine you have to implement one of those cases, or you have to test one of those cases. If you manually would do it, you need to screen the document for the unique parts, which page refers to cross-docking, which refers to direct logistics orders. But now you have a table showing you, BGM is 220 in both of those cases. However, it's 401 in cross-docking orders. And it's using the requested delivery date for free carrier orders, but not so for cross-docking orders. So you have a tableized overview, and that's already helpful. Again, for testing, probably for QA, but if you want to do a selective build, only building one of the cases, it's also helpful for the build. What we now do is we briefly go over the document, which is the Mighty Mouse implementation guideline. We are just querying and checking, do you know that implementation guide, and can you tell me what it is about? Now you retrieve like the client 555, which we memorized, you retrieve the fixed values, and somewhere below you get a rough impression on how the SAP IDOC structure could potentially look like to satisfy this guideline. So we proved here that we have access to the guideline with our prototype. We also get some error handling proposals, for example, for common things such as missing document numbers in valid date format, missing partner numbers, and invalid article codes. So those are things we should consider when implementing this business process, because they are typical potentials for errors. And we all know EDI errors are expensive to fix. What we now want to do is we want to create a test file with 5 lines for cross-docking orders. So we are retrieving the message implementation guideline, and we not only want a generic test file, we want one satisfying that very criteria. And now we got, cross-docking orders was 401. Now we get precisely for this order type a test file. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. We get exactly what we wanted. We don't see the qualifiers which are for the other order types. We only do see cross-docking, and we get it exactly in the way we want. So if you have, imagine you have like 20 different cases and you have natural language descriptions of your use cases, you could type them in and you generate test files satisfying your use cases. So that's good. We will use that test file later on. But for now, we just memorize that it exists. Now we want to ask the AI if it can retrieve a human readable map table, which means give us a table and show how the target format and the MIG correlate, focusing on mandatory segments to have the bare minimum to book something. Now we get already an overview of, okay, here's the artifact field, here's the SAP segment, and then the correlating fields. Of course, you could arrange that differently. If you wanted, you could say order by SAP IDOC segment, for example, or order by artifact. So you can choose that by yourself. If you don't choose it selectively, you get like any result which satisfies your request. Now we are coming to the very interesting part. We are now saying not only create human readable table, create mapping code according to the BIS mapping designer guideline. So we are referring to the handbook because the REC also knows the handbook. And we are matching it to the legal orders guideline. And what we now receive is source code basically. And the source code could be created because the handbook is understood by the AI. You can copy that to your mapping designer. And I will click pause again. On the right hand, you do see there is the test file cross-docking orders. That's actually the very test file which was created by us in the other prompt. We also do have comments. You see the green line comments already. And unfortunately, we only copied until the K01, but for the sake of this demonstration, you will get the point. So we have some variables filled with values. We have a structure, we have fixed values, and we have XPaths. And what we can now do is we can now use the test file which we generated with the AI out of the MIG. We can use the mapping which we just generated, and we see, we have the 555. We mapped the fixed value, but we not only mapped fixed values, we also mapped actual values. Like for example, EELNR, which is the document number, was retrieved by the file because it contains the value 123456, which is not part of the. It's not a fixed code basically. It came from an XPath. So what we now achieved is we achieved a mapping creation which is commented and was retrieved by querying the RAG from the AI, simply asking for the PDF documents which we got in the email in the first place. So in general, we just uploaded those 2 files and asked the software to create as a test scenario and eventually even the corresponding code. The steps in between are for your amusement and to understand the story, but technically, of course, you don't have to ask the software to show you the map table in human readable format. You can, of course, immediately create source code if you want. You don't have to wait. And we call it the 12-second story because the 11 seconds was preparing the query and 1 second setting up the query. Good. I will now hand over to Thomas again.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So what we have seen, as Daniel said, created a mapping out of nothing just based on documents that had been human readable. Documents we are very familiar with. And as said, in this case, it had been EDI implementation guides. We use that because EDI has a lot of these well-formatted documents. nobody of us is really interested to read 40 pages. And this was just for an order. These documents could be huge. These documents can also be more than one. If you have a partner and you get all the documents about this partner, all the messages to be implemented, and also other information like how to set up a connection, how to do this, or this is specific codes we use if it is about our plants. Yeah, our plants have specific ideas. Please, for this plant, use that, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff is in different PDF documents, but we need it in an environment where we work and we do our job. Yeah, this is at the moment still a prototype. What you have seen in the video is that we, for ourselves, we check different kind of AI models, which fits best for that purpose. As I said, our guardrails. Of course, it would be the easiest way to take the best and high sophisticated model to do this job. A human idea. Yeah, oh, let me go for the best. But what we would like to do is use this AI stuff in a way that it is also adding more value than it might cost. Because in this case, the interaction with an AI based on documents could be more costly than just asking AI for a simple assistant asking a question. So for that reason, we have built it as a prototype. It is easier for us to hand it out to different people to make tests. And what we would like to know from you, or we kindly ask you to provide any kind of feedback, maybe in the survey that pops up at the end of this MTE. What do you think about this thing? What do you think about the idea? Is there something we have overseen? Is there something where you say, I understood the idea, but in my case, and then you come up with your case? We would like to learn from you before we implement it in a BIS mapper. And then you say, oh, if they would have asked me before, yeah, I would be more happy. So be bold, feel free. We are really happy to get any kind of feedback. And we would like to design and implement it in the best possible way for you. What we have stated several times, it is an EDI thing, what we have showcased, but it works for API descriptions. It works for any kind of documents or where interfaces are documented. We collaborated with a customer of us, and they told us the story, you know what? We are here a kind of shared service center. We are doing the integrations, the mapping center, but people in business units, SAP consultants or consultants of a cloud or SaaS application, they are the experts on data, and they provide us Excel spreadsheets where they say, this is source, this is target, and this fields, this information needs to be mapped. And sometimes they also give some hints, something like, be aware of the data format or something like that. And Daniel has proven with them that we can use this Excel spreadsheets and we can put it into the AI and we get the information we need to create a mapping. Sure, it will not be a mapping which is running 100% from the start, but the AI buddy takes away all the boring and repetitive tasks that we all hate. Reading documents, getting the information out of the documents that we need. And where do we put this information? We don't have to put it somewhere. AI is providing us the information just by a question. So then we have it. Now I need to know this. Now I need to know that. I don't have to read over and over again through all these PDF documents. I worked as a consultant many years ago, and this was so boring, this was so time consuming, and it was not funny. We have tested this prototype with different users and what they said, and this was also amazing, but somehow we have expected it. It makes more fun because now it is about me with my knowledge to ask the right questions. I know this, and the buddy is helping me to do the boring stuff. And so things that took me hours, that had been boring, and I hate to do it, it is now a pleasure to handle it. I'm fast. And as Daniel said, what we have done in this video, we showed different use cases in a sequence of tasks. Of course, the video could have been 12 seconds if we said, here's 2 documents, please create a mapping code out of it. Would have been the same result. What we also learned is, of course, it requires us as people to tell the AI exactly what we want to know. Simple example. If you tell the AI, please create a mapping and please consider all the fields that are required as mandatory, that are named as mandatory in the source and in the target. If you drop this information, the AI comes up with a proposal that might not fit to your needs. This is what I mean, the human in the loop and the expert in the loop. We know that the mandatory fields of source and target is the one we have to focus on. If there's some free text, yeah, sometimes it could be important. That's nice. But we need the mandatory fields. We need this accurate information to make our businesses happy. Secondly, we've also providing the direct assistance with the mapping designer documentation. We have access, again, to dozens of pages of documentation, but we are not looking for a hell of information. We are looking for the answer of a specific challenge we have. What I tried out also, and it works perfectly based on the documentation, I have a European data format or a German data format, and I would like to transform it into a data format which is used in the USA. So I played the really stupid user, not stupid, the unexperienced user, and said, this is all I know. I have a German date and I have a US date, and somehow I know they are different. And I have received exactly the right function that transforms this date format into the other. So it does not have to be high sophisticated stuff. A user told us he had a very brilliant experience made. He received in data Roman numbers. Yeah, you know, there's Roman numbers. We see it sometimes in gladiator movies or whatever. Yeah, the Roman numbers. And he was saying, but for our internal system, we need Arabic numbers. So how to transform this? Because they handed it over like in the email. Good luck. Yeah, make something out of it. So how do I transform Roman numbers into Arabic numbers? And there is for sure an algorithm, but I don't want to fiddle around. So what he did, he used AI and he was saying, this is my problem. Could you please create mapping code for BIS, which is transforming BIS? And he said, boom, he got the code, he inserted it, he tested it around. His request was not 100% perfectly set. So with 2 small iterations, he get the job done. And then he proudly published his finding in their internal knowledge system and saying, if somebody runs into the situation to have this, I fixed it. You can imagine when they all had lunch together, he was the star. And people ask him, how have you done that? This must have taken you ages. It is an interesting problem from a developer point of view. But how long has it taken you to get this thing done? And he was smiling and saying, some minutes. That's it. Boom. That was the cool thing. His expertise is not to write this code to make this logic. His expertise is he knows exactly what kind of data is required and he gets the job done. So again, please, if you have any kind of feedback for us that would help us to implement this finally into our product in a proper way, feel free to let us know. Having said that, let's switch to the